Yeah. Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game.
I'm a headliner.
Headliner Nation, the tight end whisperer has returned. Welcome back to the Fantasy Headliners. Kyle here to talk about our start and sit tight ends for week 1 of the NFL season. And the position is what we basically have seen it be recently. There's a few guys that we can rely on every single week to start. And then other than that, it's about maximizing your points. It's about finding the best matchup and whoever has the best upside. It's difficult to do, but there's not too many people better than your boy at doing that. So I've got your back this year, Headliner Nation. Before we jump into what our start and sit videos are all about and who we're going to be picking this week, gotta remind you that we have one sweet giveaway here in September. That's right, we're gonna be putting together a nice little giveaway with this signed Justin Jefferson jersey, a Manscaped Perfect package, and a Trevor Lawrence rookie card. And all you have to do is head onto your phone and download the Prize Pick apps, or you can do it on their desktop as well. But head over to Prize Picks, download the app, make a new account, sign up with code word headliners, and deposit a minimum of $20. They're going to match anything you deposit up to $100. Do all that, play some sweet prop bets this week, and you are going to be entered for an opportunity to win this awesome giveaway. Again, download the Prize Picks app or use their web browser. Head over there, create a free account, code word headliners, make a deposit minimum of $20, and you're going to be entered in for this sweet giveaway. Ladies and gentlemen, do not forget, these start and sit videos are all about digging deep into the information. And then our rankings videos will come out on Thursday before Thursday Night Football to give you a rundown of where specifically we're going to place players. These videos are diving deep, talking about everybody, every single matchup. And then as more information comes throughout the week, then we update the rankings later on to give you more specifics on who you should be starting over another. So make sure you're utilizing both pieces of content. And it's week 1. We're not getting crazy, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be sticking with the guys we drafted. So let's get ready to jump into it and find out who's going to help us win our fantasy matchup this week. Thursday Night Football is going to be the defending Super Bowl champs welcoming in the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott back to the team, but they're going to be banged up a little bit this week with a few guys on the COVID list, including Zach Martin. To me, that would signal the possibility that maybe we could see some more targets go the tight end way, especially considering the fact that Dak Prescott, even with the addition of CeeDee Lamb last year, was looking towards the tight end quite often to begin the season. But we've got a couple of different options, Blake Jarwin and Dalton Schultz. I honestly don't know who is going to be the guy. Blake Jarwin is, both of them can catch the football. Both of them can do a little bit of blocking. But sometimes you'll see where Jarwin's a little bit better of a receiver and Schultz is a little bit better on the line itself. But I don't know how this process is going to play out with these two right now. So both of them are going to be a sit for me this week, especially considering the wide receivers that they have there. For Tampa Bay, also have to go a sit on everybody. You just don't know on any given week. If you had to guess, more than likely Rob Gronkowski would end up seeing the volume and being on the field the most. But if you were to look at red zone targets, Cameron Brate last year was in the red zone at times. OJ Howard, before he got hurt, was a big play guy that could be looked at in the red zone. I don't know what we're going to see play out. And just like Dallas, there are 3 really good wide receivers on this team. So in week 1, on Thursday Night Football, this isn't the chance to maximize your points at tight end. Philadelphia and Atlanta has a chance to smash the over with a whole lot of points being scored in Atlanta this week. For Philadelphia, I am going to roll with Dallas Goedert as a start. Like I said, I think we're going to be throwing the ball quite a bit this week, and we'll have to see Jalen Hurts, who again has some inconsistencies, Does he latch on to a position in a player that he got comfortable with last year in Dallas Goedert? With Zach Ertz being back, I don't really know what's going to happen at this position now. But the one thing about Ertz is he's missed some time this offseason. Is he going to be a guy that's really going to just hop back in and have the faith of his quarterback? I don't know. We will see. It could absolutely end up playing out to be Ertz over Goddard. We've been tricked before thinking that Goddard was ready to break out. I'm going to give it another shot here, but it's going to be very important that we watch that this weekend to see the snap counts. Those are going to be one of the leading factors as to whether or not we play Dallas Goedert over Zach Ertz moving forward. For Atlanta, though, it's Kyle Pitts. 100% we are starting Kyle Pitts. We know he's going to get targets, and we know he's going to be moving around all over the field. There is a possibility this year, though, that Hayden Hurst could become a start at the tight end position. Wasn't really utilized last season, and I warned everyone to be careful about him. But with Hayden Hurst this year, Kyle Pitts is a guy that when he goes out into the slot, or even if they do split him out wide, Hurst can then play on the line as a true tight end. And now if you've got those guys, Calvin Ridley outside, Kyle Pitts outside, Russell Gage in the slot, Hayden Hurst might find him some open opportunities to get some open yardage catches and move down the field. That's another thing that we got to be watching in this matchup, though, because it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out moving forward. The Pittsburgh and Buffalo game isn't going to bring a whole lot from the tight end position. When it comes to Pittsburgh, I know for a fact that I am not on board with Eric Ebron at all this season. Yes, at some points last year, he was getting a decent amount of volume, but he was never a guy that you could start consistently. Then, again, like I've said with a couple of other teams, this is a team that has three really, really good wide receivers that are all in the pecking order over Eric Ebron, and we got to worry about the Muth, Pat Freiermuth. Maybe he starts to get into the games more. Maybe we see him on the line a little bit more often to help block, and Eric Ebron standing on the side. That's another thing to watch this week, but I know for a fact I won't be starting any of them. For the Buffalo Bills, Dawson Knox is a guy that I desperately would like to see included in the game plan a little bit more, but I just don't see it happening, especially against Pittsburgh. Now, it does kind of depend on what happens with these linebackers. Right now, TJ Watt, he's kind of beat up. There's no guarantee he's going to play this week, but they have a core athletic group of linebackers that make it difficult for tight ends over the middle of the field. If TJ Watt ends up being out, that helps Dawson Knox a little bit, but not enough for me to start him this week. Minnesota and Cincinnati is going to be tough to watch because I would have loved to see Irv Smith Jr. out there and what he could do now that Kyle Rudolph is gone, but that's not going to happen this season. They did bring in another favorite of mine in Chris Herndon, but week one isn't going to be the week that he starts making an impact. He's got to get into the playbook, into the scheme, and he's going to maybe be a few weeks out still at this point. But Tyler Conklin's a guy that saw a decent amount of targets and some looks in the red zone last season when Kyle Rudolph and Irv Smith Jr. dealt with injuries then. For Tyler Conklin, I've got him listed as a start because I think he finds the end zone, and if he does that, he's guaranteed a lock as a start for us. For Cincinnati, nobody that I'm interested in there. CJ, who's your mama? And Drew Sample, not either of those guys, right? We've got Jamar Chase, we've got Tyler Boyd, we've got T. Higgins, we've got Joe Mixon at the running back position. There's not just going to be enough for them to go around to hit any type of upside. San Francisco at Detroit is going to be my Manscaped must-watch matchup of the week. Remember, Manscaped back as our primary sponsors here in the 2021 season. If you head to manscaped.com, use code word headliners at checkout, you're going to get 20% off all of their great products and free shipping. Manscaped.com, code word headliners, and you're going to get awesome discounts on all of their great products. But this is a must-watch matchup for me because two of the best tight ends in the league are going to be going head-to-head. George Kittle for the San Francisco 49ers going up against a very poor Detroit Lions defense has an opportunity to absolutely eat, and I would not be surprised if he does so. On the flip side, though, for TJ Hockenson, what are we going to get from this man? The number one pass catcher in this offense. But San Francisco last season was one of the best in terms of stopping tight ends from scoring fantasy points. Does that defense carry over and stop TJ Hockenson in week one? Maybe the ceiling's a little bit lower for me, but it doesn't matter. We drafted him as a top 5 tight end. We're starting him in our lineup. Arizona will be running Max Williams out as their tight end, a former standout in the draft, a guy that a lot of people thought had enough athletic ability to be a producer at the tight end position, is going to get a shot in Arizona this year. Going to be a sit for me, though. Just not seeing it as of right now. I think he could have some up and down games, but I don't think he's going to be able to be a start on a consistent basis. For Tennessee, obviously, Jonnu Smith gone, which is going to leave Jeff Swaim and Anthony Firkser at the tight end position. Now, there are a lot of people that are higher on Firkser than I am, and I get it, and I understand why people may be. But people also didn't love Jonnu Smith last year. So if you didn't love Jonnu Smith, why would you love Firkser? And now Tennessee has gone out and added Julio Jones. I'm not buying it. I don't see the upside any week for him as of now. Seattle and Indianapolis, and with Seattle, we've said it all offseason long. We wrote about it in the draft guide. Gerald Everett is definitely going to be a start for me. Russell Wilson in the past has looked towards his tight ends, and I am hoping he does the same again this season. Don't forget, Gerald Everett was the starter in LA before getting hurt, giving Tyler Higbee an opportunity, and then causing a split at that position moving forward. He is a guy. He is an athletically gifted freak at the tight end position. He can absolutely produce there. It's up to Seattle to unlock the potential. For the Indianapolis Colts, well, who do we have there? Of course, we've got Jack Mother and Doyle. Oh, it feels good to say that again. I'm going to list him as a start this week, especially considering the fact from what we've seen from Carson Wentz, very little time with the first team, having issues obviously with the foot. Are they going to have to get rid of the ball quickly? He's been out on the COVID list for a while now. Is he going to be rusty? I just think Jack Doyle is going to be a guy that he's going to look towards his way often. Carson Wentz used the tight end position and Zach Ertz quite a bit while he was in Philadelphia. Does some of that muscle memory come back and just cause him to look towards Jack Doyle more times than not? And Mo Alley Cox, yes, definitely a red zone threat, but how often will Indianapolis be in the red zone this week? And if they are, how often will they be handing it off to Jonathan Taylor? For me, it's a sit for now. The LA Chargers are heading out to Washington to face the football team, but I am not buying either of the tight ends right now, Donald Parham or Jared Cook at the tight end position in LA. Yes, I do think there is an opportunity for Cook. I do think that, especially in a week when you're going to have guys that are going to be absolutely flying in on Justin Herbert, and he's going to have to get rid of the ball quickly. However, they have some very athletic linebackers that can cover the middle of the field and stick with both of these guys. That right there is going to be the reason why I'm not buying into either of them as a start this week. For the Washington football team, I will run with Logan Thomas. Yes, I don't have Logan Thomas as high as he was at times last year because Alex, the checkdown king himself, Smith, he's gone, and it's now Ryan Air It Out Fitzpatrick. So is he going to be looking towards Logan Thomas? I mean, he did help Mike Gesicki have a great year last season. I mean, it depends upon your standards for the tight end position, which shouldn't be high. But can he do the same thing with Logan Thomas? I think yes. I think Thomas is still going to get a decent amount of targets. And for as high as people were drafting him, you got to start him in week one regardless. Excuse me. I just looked at this tight end matchup between the New York Jets and the Carolina Panthers, and my dinner came back up. It's gross. There's not a whole lot here. Ryan Griffin, Tyler Kroft, are we really going to rely on them in week one? Ian Thomas, Dan, he's still not a thing. Arnold, are we going to rely on either of those guys in week one? If you're starting any of those guys in week one, I have serious issues with what you did at the tight end position in your drafts. For Jacksonville and Houston, there is an obvious chance that this is going to be an ugly game between two of the worst teams in the league. But you do have Trevor Lawrence, the first overall pick there, going against Tyrod Taylor. Yeah, swag. I said Tyrod Taylor. Woo! What a matchup that is. As far as the tight end position goes, Jacksonville, I'm not seeing anything with Chris Manhertz or James O'Shaughnessy. I mean, they've never featured the tight end position before. And Urban Meyer is not a guy to really change that. He's not a guy that's going to feature him much more often. So I wouldn't expect that. I would expect a heavy dose of James Robinson and the big guys, the wide receivers, to do that. Plus Laviska Shenault, because of the way he's going to be used, he's essentially going to be like a hybrid tight end, wide receiver, running back type guy. He's going to take any targets that would have gone towards those guys. For Houston, if you missed out in the draft guide, I'll tell you right now that we're basically in the season, Jordan Akins was the guy that I planted my flag in for the 2021 season. The way that he was utilized in the slot last year by the Houston Texans is great for his versatility and made him a top 5 at the position in terms of being used in the slot and how his numbers added up there. Now, obviously, fantasy production wasn't there, but they did have Darren Fells as well. So now it's Jordan Akins. Farrell Brown is going to be there, but I don't expect him to be on the field too much. I like Jordan Akins this week. Houston probably going to be playing from behind. They're going to need some pass catchers to help out. Akins is going to be the guy to do that. Cleveland and Kansas City is a pretty easy one, right? We're all starting Travis Kelce. It doesn't matter who else you have on your team. You never sit Travis Kelce. For Cleveland, it might be a little bit more difficult, though. But don't forget, Austin Hooper is there. The big guy on the contract last season did not do what he did while he was in Atlanta. David Njoku back from injury. And Harrison Bryant, a rookie who last year when there were injuries, actually had some decent games. 3 of those guys on the field are going to constantly cause headaches for fantasy owners. I know people are still looking at Austin Hooper, but Austin Hooper was not signed to be a receiving threat. He was signed to come in and virtually be an extensive of the offensive line and help block. Is he going to have some decent games? Yes. Is he going to score some touchdowns? Probably, but he is not going to be a consistent starter and definitely not in my lineup week 1. I really feel like even though all the noise at the wide receiver position for the Miami Dolphins in terms of the signing of Will Fuller, bringing in Jalen Waddle, and of course Devontae Parker still being there, I think the Mike Gesicki Tua matchup or the Tua connection could end up being one that becomes very, very special. Year 3, 4 is typically the year when those tight ends really start to break out. And Mike Gesicki, we saw some flashes of that last season. I expect Tua to look his way, especially considering Will Fuller is going to be out this week on the first week of his suspension. Technically the last week of his suspension coming over from last season. For the New England Patriots, it's going to bring my Prize Picks prop to watch for this matchup because I'm going with Jonnu Smith to go over the top of 28.5 receiving yards. I'm taking the over there as Hunter Henry works his way back from an offseason shoulder injury. Maybe a little bit limited to start this week in terms of how often he's on the field, but I expect some nice things from Jonnu Smith this week. I'm going to go with the over there, and I'm going to list him as a start. Big Bomb Tonyan is a guy that is going to cause headaches this year. Last year, you started him and it felt like you were always doing well, but it was the amount of touchdowns that he scored last year that helped prop up what was a very low target percentage. And now we've added in Randall Cobb, who's probably going to take a lot of those targets he was seeing over the field anyway. It makes things even worse for Bob Tonyan. But this week, he gets a New Orleans defense that was greatly decimated over the offseason. They had to move on from a lot of guys because of the cap space, and it's not going to be a great defense. So for me, I will take Bob Tonyan to get into the end zone and score this week. For New Orleans, Adam Troutman, a darling of the offseason that everyone thought, hey, this could be a guy that takes the next step. When Jameis Winston was made the starter, I agreed. And then Troutman goes down with an injury, and now we don't know for sure when we're going to get him back. It looks like for now, Juwan Johnson could end up stepping in to be the guy. If he is, then at that point, maybe he sees a few targets, but I'm not rolling with him in week 1. I am a little bit worried about the Denver and New York Giants matchup. I think the defenses are going to play much better than what some people may expect, and it's going to make life difficult on the offenses. Noah Fant is not a guy that I'm a huge fan of this season. They've just got too many weapons around him to expect a consistent amount of targets. But Courtland Sutton in his first game back after that injury last season, I'll take Noah Fant this week going up against the New York Giants. I think there's definitely an opportunity for him to see upwards of 6 targets. And if he gets those and catches them, definitely his 8 fantasy points in a start are in range of what he would need to be. All right, Headliner Nation. Things look a little bit different because we are cutting into the middle of this video. I was out doing some grocery shopping, shipping some cards that we just broke, and I got a comment on our wide receiver video about Evan Ingram being out. Well, I said, well, that doesn't sound right because ESPN's injury report has him listed as participating in practice, catching passes in pads. Sure enough, I go out there and I go to a Giants beat reporter, and he is saying it sounds like Evan Ingram is now a long shot to play this weekend. Well, I had him potentially listed as a start. We can't do that anymore. So I had to rush back home, sit down, record this video real quick so we could insert it into the video and get the updated information. So apologies to everyone for why it looks so weird, but for me, because there's probably going to be no Evan Ingram this weekend, I'm going to go ahead and sit him now, and then we're going to list Kyle Rudolph as a start. It sounds like he is going to be fine and ready to go. Went and checked out a couple of different articles, and it does sound like he is going to be a go. For me, I got some questions about Kenny Golladay with the hamstring injury and facing a tough defense. I can't go with him. I cannot go with Kenny Golladay just yet. I've got to see that he's 100% healthy, and it's not going to be a great matchup for him. So I'm going to bank on Kyle Rudolph helping out a little bit and maybe scoring a touchdown. I would love to see Cole Kmet break out for the Chicago Bears, but with Jimmy Graham still there, I just don't see it happening. Are they going to run two tight end sets? I don't really think so. And if they don't, that's just going to be less opportunities for both of these guys to be on the field. I see them splitting a lot of snaps. And if that happens, the upside just won't be there for either of them. Now we're going to go over to the Los Angeles Rams. And I definitely think a guy that we've talked about this offseason in Tyler Higbee could end up being a solid start this week. I'm going to go ahead and roll with him. Yes, we've gotten questions about the other tight ends there. Listen, Tyler Higbee is going to be the guy for right now. I don't anticipate anybody else at that position making any type of an impact anytime soon, so I'm not putting anybody else here. Obviously, if somebody does pop up or if Tyler Higbee goes down, we'll add to it. But for now, Tyler Higbee is the guy, and I will go to him as Matthew Stafford gets comfortable in the offense, maybe relies on the tight end position a little bit. Higbee, a big body over the middle of the field, could do him a lot of good this week. Monday night is going to bring a great matchup of a couple of tight ends. Mark Andrews coming off his new extension, expected to still be a big part of this offense. And with no Rashad Bateman to start the season, he should still see plenty of targets to be a start. I ended up bumping him up a couple of spots in my rankings because of that Bateman injury, because him and Lamar Jackson will probably be on cue just like always. And for the Las Vegas Raiders, Darren balls to the Waller. You don't sit him, ladies and gentlemen. There you have it, Headliner Nation. My tight end start and sits for week 1 of the NFL season. Do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new here. And also feel free to leave me a comment down below. Who are you rolling with in week 1 this week on your team? And don't forget, the rankings episodes are going to be coming out on Thursday before Thursday Night Football, and those will help you make decisions between different players. I'm out of here, Headliner Nation. Stay safe, stay healthy. I'll catch you on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.
I'm a headliner.